there was no to-dos for last week. So let's look at the first agenda item. So today maybe we start with the roll call from the Indy. I think we have Wheeler alone. Do we have any other person on the call?
Not that I know of. It's just I just see there's only me, unless that guy has some tools to listen without being seen.
Okay. So from this side we have Nikki, Eric, Simon, and Alfayo.
Hey.
And Simon was behind me. Okay. We also have Eli. So let's start off with the first item. The first one is review of last week's to-dos. Since there were no to-dos for the last week, we will move on to the next agenda item, participating in open MRS REST web services development. So I believe we saw the mail that Buck sent and the discussion they had with areas in regard to improving the REST web service module, so that at least we can have open MRS running more on the standard, maybe the global standards or standards that are acceptable by the rest of the developers in the world, rather than building our own, or rather than concentrating more on our own custom stuff that we have for OpenMRS. So I believe given that we are moving more into utilization of this module, it will be good for us to be part and parcel of the effort that we put into improving the module to handle the various maybe shortfalls that are there. So Will, I believe you are the one who put on this agenda item. Did you have any initial ideas of what you'd want us to do, or your thoughts were just maybe we discuss and maybe agree on what should be done going forward?
Yeah, so can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so the idea is not really to move into the way the OpenMRS does things. It's more about how are we going to leverage what is happening around the OpenMRS community to actually get what you want and accomplish what you want to do at AMPATH. So basically, we are trying to build. You guys, you are doing Angular and you are making REST calls, right?
Yeah.
So maybe right now you're doing very simple calls. There are some concepts around when you're doing things, when you are heavily dependent on the REST calls, you're doing everything based on the REST calls. It will reach a point where you will need something that is not provided by the module, maybe. Now, the idea is to start participating in this development. For example, there are so many tickets on, if you go to the OpenMRS Jira, you'll see that there are so many tickets related to REST that needs to be fixed, or some new feature needs to be added. So you'll see that by participating in that, in the fixing some of these tickets or working on the module, it will be good for us when we actually get to the point where we need to add something. We can just say, if it fits in the REST module, it's easy for one of us to just pick it up, work on it, which will be fast because we'll get what we want. We'll also be contributing the effort back to the community, and somebody else might use the same feature if they need to use it. So basically, this agenda was to kind of have an awareness of what's going on and to find a strategy to actually be part of it, because it's actually going to benefit us a lot. That's what I was aiming at. So, for instance, yesterday when we were scrumming, I said I was going to pick some REST ticket. I just picked one of them. We didn't do scrub today. I don't know where you guys were. I was on the RSC. I didn't see anyone. I think you were. I don't know where you were anyway. So I've started working on it, and you can go through the issues, the Jira, the OpenRSQ, and just you can look at the tickets and then pick whatever you want, so that you just get the feel, you get the idea of how it works. I actually don't want this to. I don't want to make this like one of the main things we are doing right now, but it should be one of the things that is on our radar. It's that's how I look at it at this point, because we have so many new things going on, and we better keep focus on the things that we've decided to focus on. But because what you are focusing on depends on this, then we also shouldn't. We should be aware of this thing.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I think we will have each one of us will take a look at the available outstanding JIRA tickets on the REST, and we actually fork that code and probably try to figure out what needs to be done. And that would be useful for.
Actually, I'll put a link to some.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put a link on today's. I'm gonna put a link on today's the dev call on the wiki.
Okay.
That points to the tickets, the REST tickets. So you can just click there, and you don't. Of course, you can go to the Jira and search yourself, but this one is specifically for the tickets that have the priorities should, like they're supposed to be done. It's very important to have them done. So, yeah.
Okay, that would be very useful. Okay, any other thoughts on this? Okay, we move on to the next item, OpenMRS provider management. This item was raised by Simon based on their usage of the provider management that is currently implemented in the, I think, 1.9 version of OpenMRS. Given they have been quite interacting with this, and they have a number of suggestions that they would want probably that they think might be useful in managing the providers, or to make the work much easier or more transparent. So I'll give this chance to Simon to speak out.
Yeah, this is some issue that we encountered. It's about an issue that we encountered during our work using MRS, and it's something that I questioned some time back, which we had the chance to have back around to clarify. The issue is that within 1.9, and I think and beyond, users can only be recognized as providers if they have related entries within the provider table. I think there was a disconnect between a user having the role provider and a user actually existing within the provider table. So currently there are so many users in MRS who are supposed to act as providers, but they are not in the provider table. And then there is another set of the users who are within the provider table, but in the provider table record, they do not have identifiers. Okay, within the provider table, there is among the fields, there is identifier ID, which corresponds to the system ID in the user table. And then there will be provider name, and I think other fields as well. So if you have an entry without a provider ID, it's not possible to tell, like looking at the table to tell which user this one was. So we have a lot of such data, and last Monday we did a discussion where it was agreed maybe to resolve the current issues in the database. There would be need to write an SQL script that would update the null records, the null identifiers, by picking them from the user table. I think Miencha talked about this, and he said he would take the initiative to work on it. But now moving forward, what we are thinking, because currently the workflow is that you create a user, then if you want to make that user a provider, you manually go to the Manage Provider section, and then you have to type in the name of the user. Well, MRS will search for the user. And then manually you have to type in the provider identifier. So somehow you have to put the correct identifier that was defined within the user. That one is prone to error because somebody might not type in the provider identifier, and that's actually what leaves the record with a null identifier. So what we are looking at, maybe in future we should be thinking of a way, when you create a user, automatically if you want to make that user a provider, then the system should, in the background, put that user in the provider table with the correct identifier and other details. So that it will be easier. You do not have, like, users will not forget after creating a user, you'll not forget to make that user a provider. And also you'll have the correct information in the provider table. I don't know whether I'm making sense or I'm losing you guys in circles.
Has already updated the only.
Yeah, Simon. So actually, it makes sense. I don't. Okay, let me put it this way. Because I know this issue, that's why it makes sense. I don't know if some other people need more explanation, but we had discussion about this, and I think I still remember that discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I think we had this discussion again on our Muzima call last Friday, and we were thinking. So one of the suggestions I've given is within the user management page, when you're adding a user, we need to maybe have an option whether to specify whether this user should be added to the provided table, so that if that option is maybe selected, in the background we'll create a record in the provided table with the user's details. And then another suggestion is that within the provider management page, when you're adding a provider, we make the identifier field be mandatory, because right now it's optional. So maybe we need to make it required, so that somebody has to type in the provider ID plus the provider name. Basically, that's what I was thinking. So why I raised it, we would like maybe you guys have more experience, or maybe you could have suggestions on how this could be done, because ideally, even the guys who are working on Angular, probably in the future you might experience such an issue. You may want to pull down the list of providers from MRS to the Angular app, but if you do not have an identifier, you'll only have names, and therefore for some users would want to identify themselves by looking at the provider ID. So if the provider ID is missing, then you're going to have problems. So what do you guys think, maybe?
Okay. So, Simon, I think when we were discussing about this was on the DevCo, right? Was it on DevCo?
Well, yeah, on the dev call, I think because the call when Buck was clarifying the difference between being in the provider table and having the provider role.
Yeah, he was explaining the historical background as to why it is happening the way it is happening.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'm just I'm interested to know. I think that day we didn't we reach a conclusion that we need something to work in some way?
No, we didn't arrive at any conclusion
Oh,
on
so
working on
we just
something.
okay. So we just agreed that okay, in order for that to happen, it has to be done manual as it is done right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the thing is, okay, interesting. So I think the fact that we need the provider to the provider management to behave the way you're explaining, Simon. I think that is we don't there is no dispute on that. Nobody can have any objection to that. It's obvious and it makes perfect sense. I just wonder whether it is still that way in the later versions of OpenMRS. If it is still that way, then it means it is you can say you can think of it as a bug in a way, because actually making user to remember that okay, you add the user, you make the provider role, then you have to add the provider. That's not a very good workflow. I was trying to see if it is behaving like that in this in the demo site. I haven't been able to reproduce the issue yet, but I would think the best way would be to see if it is still that way, and then probably create a ticket or maybe a talk, I think, and suggesting that. Yeah, I think it's probably just a ticket explaining what the issue is. It is straightforward that it is supposed to behave the way you are saying. If you add the user, you say it is the provider, they should be automatically added to the provider table. Although I wonder if you remove that provider role, do you need to remove the associated user from the provider table, or that is something that can be discussed, I guess.
You're asking if you remove the provider role,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah. Do you need to to retire the provider on the provider table? And
or in
yeah.
the suggested implementation, or you're asking if currently behaves that way?
No, it doesn't. I know it doesn't behave that way.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no link. I'm just saying if you wanna, I'm just thinking of the kind of challenges we might be encountering when you want to implement this feature the way you want it to behave.
Mm-hmm.
So that is actually, it is up for discussion, and it's not a big deal. It's something that can be decided whether we need to do it that way or not. But the best way to do it would be to throw a ticket on OpenMRS. First is to confirm if it is behaving that way, even in the later versions. Even if it doesn't, it has been fixed, you can just say it is fixing this particular version, like 19x, and yeah, it is 19x, I guess. Until now, it is 197, it is still behaving that way. I'm not sure in 198, but I think it will still be the same, and 199 probably. So you could say it is affecting that, and then explaining the issue, and then from there, if you wanna work on that, that's fine. You can actually fix it, and then we'll have to redeploy the WAR somehow, which means we'll need to upgrade to some other version of AMRS. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know if there's any other way we can do it. I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay, and maybe on the same, I think what Buck was also mentioning is, although at this point we are assuming that the identifier would be equal to the system ID, I think it was not intended, the intention was not to have that, because basically we are saying these providers are people who may not even be persons in the database, they may not be users in the database. So at least for the ones that will exist in our system, it would be okay, we'll have that feature so that at least we can pull the system IDs into the identifier. But I would say probably we just put on a checkbox when you are creating, when you're adding the users, so that you just, we just say this is the provider, or you check that and then it creates that as a provider. Because If we say we base on the provider role, it means then we'll have maybe some hard-coded role in the system that we are saying is a provider that one can select. And then when you give a user that role, then automatically that user becomes a provider. And then maybe also look at what if today I was not a person in the system, I was a doctor in the field and I became a provider because I was not a person, I was created as an independent provider. After some time in history, and then you realize you are created as a person. Could we have a relationship so that we link this entity that was created that did not have a relationship to this with the user? Maybe that's when we would use the identifier. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting discussion, and it is revolving around how do you implement the feature. I think we all agree that we need that handling to be done automatically. Now, how do we do that? What are the kind of cases we can encounter? That is something that we can analyze case-wise, like the use cases. So what you're saying is very it's a good point, because yeah, you can have somebody. Anyway, the good thing is right now the provider allows people to create providers as independent entities, or they can be linked to the user, and it doesn't actually. The reason why the identifiers right now in the provider table for those users that existed before the upgrade is the system IDs, because they were just copied. They were copied and entered there. There's no any requirement they should be system IDs. In fact, if you choose the user right now from the if you say add provider, if you go to your application, anyway, any one of them, if you are using the production or reference app on 197, if you say add provider, you select it from the user or from the person. It is not copying the identifier automatically. You will have to specify it. So it's not even, by default, it doesn't do that. So it's the responsibility of the person creating the provider to provide the identifier.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one case, and it is something that it can be decided if you are actually, the way the UI is right now, it doesn't even give you the option to enter like Simon, I think Simon, that's the case you are saying, right? Like you have to enter the ID manually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the problem also, because if you just want to use the identifier that already exists on the user, the UI doesn't even give you that option. You have to type in the ID manually, which is
Yeah, you have to type in.
Yeah, which is not very good, because it's error prone.
Yeah, and I think that's why many people leave that field blank and therefore creating the null ID records.
Okay, yeah, I see. So you see, so that is actually the quick fix will be just to make sure that you have it can be a checkbox, like use the personal identifier, or it could be anyway. You can. The point is, it can be implemented such that the user can actually choose to use the existing identifier, so that you don't need to type in the identifier manually. That could be the quick fix for the problem. And then now moving away from actually having the user going to create the user and then getting back to the provider table at the getting the user, and it's just not very good workflow. It would be nice if the user can just say, there are two options, either say create provider or add provider role. Adding the provider role should maybe create the provider, and also you can have the option when somebody is creating a new user, they can actually specify this user as the provider, and then the user should be entered automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So that is just the implementation, but I think we all agree that, so you see that we just need a ticket that explains we have this issue, and it needs to be fixed. And hopefully somebody from the team, because we need this feature anyway, should pick it up and work on it. I don't think it's very difficult thing to fix. It seems like a pretty straightforward thing. So Simon, do you think you can just create a ticket for us and explain what the issue is, and
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe you can even, if you want, I don't think it's necessary. You can even start a talk on the talk and just say, okay, there's this thing. It happens this way. We think it should happen this way. It will be
Okay.
very nice.
So what you're saying is that I create a ticket under MRS?
No. In the what is this thing? The open
Okay.
MRS here, not our.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is something that affects the community in general. It is about the open MRS. It's not particular. It's not specific to AMPATH.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will create a ticket. Then we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, you can even. I was also suggesting a talk. It's really nice if you can just start a topic there, like the way we are managing providers. It's a very good thing to start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up.
Welcome.
Okay, we move to the next agenda item, sprint planning discussion. So maybe Willa can give us more information on this, or do we need JJ to be part of the discussion?
Yeah, this actually cannot happen even today because the same reason it didn't happen the last time because JJ did not have time to attend, and he's not here. It's not very productive to plan a sprint without JJ on the team.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just maybe next time I'll have to find a way of replacing somebody sitting in for JJ. Otherwise, it's not gonna be productive. Maybe Bonnie can do that, I guess, because he's a project. Actually, I don't really know what Bonnie is. He's a project manager, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a project manager.
Yeah, he could take that position once in a while if necessary, I guess.
Thank you. We move on to the last item, embedding Etherpad in development call page as done in OpenMRS forum. Maybe Willa, we are back to you again. I think it would be good for you to show us how we could do this if you have an idea, or we may need to do a research.
I actually, I don't know. I was hoping Rafael could research and do it for us, please.
It's okay. That's my to-do now from the call. Or you want me to research now?
Yeah. You see, I don't know if you guys are taking notes. I'm trying to take notes while we're having this call. It would be nice if we could just have the Etherpad, and then if you are typing something, I can see, and if anyone is typing notes in there, it's easy to see what is going on, and so that we don't repeat the same things and it becomes difficult to match. It's just that's how we do it in the OpenMRS dev call. So I was just thinking it's nice to have that feature as well.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, Buck knows how to do it, but it's okay. I think he's the one who did it in that one, but you can just Google. I don't think it's that difficult. I haven't tried to look around or how to do it, but I think it's good to have it.
Okay, I will look and find out. So I think we are done with the items. Are there any other business or any other businesses?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Eric says none from his, and then Nick.
None from me. Nothing from me.
Thomas, you should raise something.
You have something you can raise?
Willa, do you have something?
When is it coming?
When are you coming to Kenya, Willa?
I don't know. Anyway, guys, it's just I was just thinking about this, and I thought it's good to bring it up. So if you look at the dashboard, we don't have a lot of things there. They are.
Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, I am. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know when I'm coming. I was expecting to come in July, but today is June 18th. I'm not so sure if I'll be able to be there in July. Probably, I hope so, but I'm not sure.
Would you like to come?
I love to be there.
Okay. Do you want us to maybe fast on your behalf,
First on my behalf, what do you mean?
so that
You pray.
so we
You fast.
we pray and fast on your behalf?
So that I come or what?
Yes, yes, so that you come.
Yeah, okay, go ahead if you wanna do that.
Okay, so we'll put you in our prayers.
Okay, fine. Anyway, so the tickets. This is just a general reminder. We have to remember to update the tickets. We're always forgetting that. I do forget that also, but so it's just a reminder. Let's update the tickets. We are not. I know right now we're dealing with Angular. We don't have even tickets for that, do we? I mean, do you guys have tickets with the Angular stuff?
JJ said he'll create some epics, then put in some stories, and that is when we'll start updating.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I'll send you guys a very simple PDF that it is to do with the agile development and the scrums. Actually, it's about scrum. It's not even about. It's about scrum and extreme programming and pair programming. It's the way it is written is not like the book sent by JJ. The book sent by JJ is very academic, you know. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is, and for some people it can be boring because it's more about it's kind of a little bit theoretical than practical. So this other book is about it's more about how some guy used to do Scrum in his team, and he's explaining it in a very nice way. And it's short. It's not like if you're just in the JJ's book. If you just want to learn about extreme programming, you're gonna read, I think, maybe 20 pages. So it's for some of us, I know it's kind of boring just to learn extreme programming. It becomes very theoretical. Maybe it doesn't. You can't even relate to what they're saying in the book. It's difficult actually. So I'll just send that book, and I hope you guys will find it enjoyable and more friendly, user friendly, and yeah, productive.
Yeah,
It's 20 pages.
the shorter the better.
Yeah, so I'll send that book. It's a really nice book. You really should try to read it. Even if you don't want to look at it, just start from the first chapter. Then you will see whether you still want to read it or not.
You said it's around 20 pages.
No, it's not around 20 pages, but it's very short compared to. It's more about it's a recount of the experience of this guy when he was leading a Scrum team in a company. You know, it's not like a theoretical explanation of okay, what is extreme programming, you know, blah blah blah. This kind of very academic talk. It's not academic talk. It's more like a dev to dev talk, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be so. Just send us. We'll plan to read that.
All right. So I guess at this point, I don't have any other business.
Yeah, let me just let you know this. There's the other ticket, MRS 346, which I had created earlier, I think about cohorts. I managed to raise it on OpenMRS Talk. I needed guys to maybe give suggestions, but I think right now still there are no comments. So I took that initiative so that we can maybe hear from the wider community.
Simon,
Yeah.
isn't that related to the cohort module Barack was discussing with some Google Summer of Code student, and there are plans to implement it in it's a bit complicated way, but
No, not that one. There's an error in MRS when you are viewing cohorts. I think I did a ticket. It's MRS 346. So it's not related to what cohort Buck was discussing. Yeah, no. Actually, I did not mention so that you guys maybe you look at it. I'm just letting you know.
Mm.
Yeah, because JJ had suggested that maybe we hear from the wider community, and so I started a topic on that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. This could not initialize proxy. This is this error. Sometimes when you restart the server, it works. I don't know.
Well, I also thought so, but Eric told me the server has been restarted in the last few weeks. I don't know, Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The server, because it's not only happening on test, right? Or not?
It's not on test. It's only MRS production server.
Okay. Maybe I might be wrong. We might ask Miencha to restart it, but I believe it has been restarted.
Yeah, because the problem like this, if you can't reproduce it in some other environment, it becomes very difficult to troubleshoot.
Yeah, maybe we might again re-ask Miencha to restart, but I believe Miencha has restarted that server recently.
So is it a consistent thing that is happening every now if you go to your phone to get it, or it happens?
No, on the cohort, and Derek tells me it's been there for more than a year. Yeah. So I don't know.
So if it has been there more than a year, MRS has been restarted.
Yeah, sure. But
I
maybe
doubt if it has been running
Because you
for
see,
1
the
year.
issue, I haven't seen that. Maybe the issue of proxy, whatever. Sometimes even when we are processing the HL7 or the form entry, it happens. So we just reprocess. So I haven't seen that error. We'll look at it.
Just log on to production. You should be able to see it.
Are you not on production?
This is not production.
yeah, okay. We would ask
I need
Miencha to restart,
to restart the server.
I don't know. I don't know whether Miencha will.
I could not initialize proxies. I think the more the database becomes.
There is been there for over a year, then 122 days.
Yeah, I think this could not initialize proxy error, no session. The session going away, I'm not so sure. It could be related to the memory leaks in Tomcat, or it could be more of a Tomcat thing, as when the AMRS is taking up a lot of memory. Sometimes it's more for it's a very low level error. It's not really an application error. So, because you see, even the error is error marshalling. It's Java still could not. It is to do with the way Hibernate is being initialized and maintaining the sessions. So I don't know if you. I think you can't. Actually, you don't have this problem on your instance, right? Hello. Hello, guys. Hello. Hello.